Alright, battlers, welcome back to a brand new Ferocious Cup video. In this video, we're taking a look at some of my great practice partners that I go up against on the daily. We're facing off first here against X Factor. These games are really close, and some of these games I only win by 5 hit points or less. So these matches are really intense, guys. I hope you enjoy them. Here we see Donphan facing off against Lanoon. Lanoon is a normal type, so these counters are going to add up. However, if we take one Grass Knot, we will go down. So we're going to try to counter down this Lanoon and take all of that stored energy with us into the next matchup. We await X Factor to bring out his next Pokemon. He is letting that switch timer tick down, and in comes Umbreon. Umbreon is going to shield this Heavy Slam, and that opens the door for Donphan's Earthquake. We got so much energy together from that Lanoon matchup that we actually are able to get to the Earthquake. So that Umbreon is taking a ton of damage right now. I look for the swap, but I get locked in because he's firing off the Foul Play. So Donphan will go down after one more counter, and here I'm going to bring in my Minun. Minun's going to charge up some energy here. Umbreon's actually going to go for a charge attack. Umbreon is super deadly when the shields are down. I do fire off this Thunderbolt here against the Alolan Ninetales. So he is trying to preserve his Umbreon, but that does a huge chunk of the Alolan Ninetales. I bring in my Bibarel here, and we're unable to get to the Surf. So this Umbreon is going to fire off a Foul Play, but Bibarel survives. We get to the Surf at the last second. Going into game 2, we are facing off against X Factor again. X Factor does live in Orlando. He's one of my new training partners, and I'm having a lot of fun battling him. He always brings such interesting meta and off-meta picks. He does fire up the Bubble Beam from the Suicune, so my Umbreon is instantly nerfed. I am not too excited about that prospect, but we're going to see how it plays out. In comes that Alolan Ninetales, and I'm running a Metal Claw, Bulldoze, and Ice Punch Sand Slash, so I don't need to fire off a charge move against this Ninetales. I can literally just use the Metal Claws to feint it. So I do have a ton of energy stored here. It is 2 shields versus 2 shields. In comes that Suicune, and I shield bait with the Ice Punch. I do get the shield, and then I go here for the Bulldoze. Bulldoze is going to land, doing a good amount to Suicune. I really need Suicune out of the way because it's such a difficult Pokemon to plan around, and I don't have anything that's super effective against it on my team. I decided to bring in my Umbreon here, and I fire off the Foul Play against it. It does get shielded, and then Suicune's going to fire off another charge attack. Expecting the Hydro Pump, I do shield, and it is the Hydro Pump, so luckily we shielded that. He's so fast to generate energy, though. He gets to another Bubble Beam, and our Umbreon is now double nerfed. I have to use the Foul Play here to take out the Suicune before I get Bubble Beamed yet again. So X Factor's down to his last Pokemon, and it is Umbreon, guys. This is a really crazy matchup. We only turn this around because he does make some mistakes. So we go for one last resort, and then we get to a second last resort. It's a CMP tie, and he goes for the Foul Play. So I think that was a shield bait there. I go for my last resort, though. I know my only chance is to give that shield to Bibarel and then try to get as much damage in on him as we can. He goes for another charge attack here, and it turns out that it is Foul Play. We talked after the match, and he was trying to bait that shield out of me, but my Umbreon was already so nerfed, there was no way I was going to give it my shield. So all this damage that we get is bonus. Speaking of, we get a bonus Foul Play right here at the last second. So we are really trying to chip down that Umbreon. In comes my Bibarel, and it's going to absorb whatever attack this is. It turns out that it is a last resort, so Bibarel can probably only take one more of those. Because of its normal typing, it is resisting that dark type Snarl, which is great. We actually shield that Foul Play, and we get here to the Surf, but it's a CMP tie, guys, and he fires off his Foul Play, and Bibarel survives. We get to the Hyper Fang just to seal the deal, and we take that game as well. And the time's up, which is funny. Our next opponent is Kanga. I'm going to lead with my Minun against his Bibarel. So again, I predicted that lead there. Very good for me. Out comes the Alolan Ninetales. I'm hoping that my extra Sparks actually did enough damage to this Ninetales so I can take it down with Charms. I'm not going to use a charge move here. Instead, betting on my Ninetales, hoping I can get the charge move off on the next Pokemon, and we do just that. Barely eking out that win. I do fire off the Ice Beam here against Bibarel, and it does go unshielded. So we take almost half of Bibarel's health with the Ice Beam, which is really good for us. We still have our Minun. We are down a shield, but I think I can either take the Bibarel or take the shield right here. So he doesn't shield Bibarel. Instead, he's going to bring in his Umbreon here. And an Umbreon with 2 shields is so incredibly hard to overcome. This is going to be a very uphill battle for us. I go straight here for the Discharge. We do encounter some lag, and he does get a couple of Snarls in, but I'm able to reach my Discharge here. I think I recorded this match during last weekend when Niantic was having a lot of trouble keeping up with their systems. I think a lot of battlers are having this issue. I know For the Battles mentioned it on Twitter. We do get the long discharge animation and fire off another discharge. Minun is going to have to take this attack here. I'm going to let it go down. My last Pokemon is Bibarel, and the opposing Umbreon does still have some energy, so he's going to fire off the Foul Play. He does have that one shield though, so I have to burn his shield and fire off a second Surf in order to win this, guys. It's going to come right down to the wire. We actually overcharge there and go here for the Surf. We do earn that first shield from Umbreon, which is great, and those water guns are chipping down, but here comes an attack, and I think it's all over. But Bibarel survives, and we get to that Surf at the last second, guys. We pull out this win from the jaws of defeat. Going to the next round, I'm facing off against 6'7" Kevin. I win this lead here, Bibarel versus Nidoqueen. He stays in for a minute and then goes into his own Bibarel. I'm going to go straight for the Hyper Fang here, hoping that I can land it. And we don't. He's actually going to shield, which puts us way behind in energy. Expecting the Hyper Fang here, I am going to shield, and it is. Hyper Fang would have probably KO'd us at that point. I'm going to swap here into my Umbreon. Umbreon's going to get that Foul Play before the opposing Bibarel can get to a Surf. But here it comes, so it was a CMP tie, very, very close. In comes the Hyper Fang, actually, excuse me, and we're going to try to work up to another Foul Play. I want to get this Bibarel out of the way, and I do have a Bibarel with energy in the back. He does shield it, which means he wants to go for one more charge move. I'm not going to allow it, expecting the Hyper Fang, and it was. So he went straight Hyper Fangs, very aggressive, very heavy duty, attacking there. It is 0 versus 0 shields. I'm going to fire off the Last Resort against the opposing Umbreon. My goal here is just to do as much chip damage as possible to it, because I know I need to weaken it for whatever I have in the back. So I'm going to have to take this attack. It will be Last Resort, bringing down my Umbreon. I have my Alolan Ninetales though, so we are going to chunk down this Umbreon really quickly. That Last Resort is going to hurt, and I open my switch tray. I fire off the Surf against the Nidoqueen, and that's going to one-shot it essentially in that range. In comes that Umbreon, and it's going to fire off in a charge attack. It will be the Foul Play, but Bibarel again is going to survive and pull out the win with the Surf. Taking a look at our new game against Jingles, I'm going to lead with my Alolan Ninetales into that Bibarel. He does switch into Skuntank, and I bring in my Umbreon. So Umbreon is going to fire off the Foul Play here. I'm hoping to get the shield from Jingles. Jingles does not give it to me, though. He's actually going to allow that one through. And Skuntank will return fire with the Sludge Bomb. Guys, Jingles is a Orlando native. He's an awesome trainer. He went to Richmond this past weekend and did really well. He did the best out of the Tampa battlers, Central Florida battlers, I should say, that went to the Cup. So very, very proud of him. Very proud of all of our guys that went and participated. And here we go with a Last Resort from me. I'm hoping to take down that Skuntank, and we do. So he does hold on to that one shield. I swap out, knowing that the Alolan Ninetales was coming. I'm already smashing that swap button. We're going to fire off the Surf here against the Alolan Ninetales, which goes unshielded as well. So these water guns will continue to chip down. I'm not going to shield Bibarel here. I'm going to allow the Psyshock through. And at this point, I decided to bring in my Alolan Ninetales, which is still relatively healthy. In comes his Bibarel, and we're going to try to use our charms as much as we can. I know my Umbreon is very weak. It might be useful as a sacrificial swap, but not much besides that. So we are going to encounter some lag, and I swap into Umbreon, and we absorb that charge attack perfectly, just how I planned. In comes my Alolan Ninetales, but guys, there's just not enough gas in the tank. Jingles is going to beat us. Going into game 2 against Jingles, I will lead with my Donphan into that Lanoon. So we saw this earlier on in the video. We just need to counter this Lanoon down and avoid the Grass Knot at all costs. I do fire off a Heavy Slam here, trying to put some pressure on the Lanoon. He does decide to shield it, which tells me he really wants to get this Grass Knot off. He really wants to win this lead. So he does swap into Bibarel, and I go into my Umbreon. Umbreon is going to almost get to the charge attack, but here comes an attack from Bibarel. It will be Hyper Fang, so definitely a good thing we shielded there. Surf is more energy efficient, but Hyper Fang does more damage. We are going to land our Foul Play, though. So we are out of shields, but we are putting a ton of pressure on this Bibarel here. I'm going to fire off another Foul Play, and that will be enough to bring it down. Out comes the Skuntank, and here we go for the Last Resort. Again, encountering a little bit of lag. This was during that weird weekend. He's actually going to get to his move first. Sludge Bomb is... yeah, because of the glitch, the Sludge Bomb isn't very effective. He wasn't able to swipe all of the purple bubbles. So we fire off our Last Resort. Skuntank gets another move though, and it will be Crunch. So again, Umbreon is barely hanging on. In comes that Lanoon, and this is actually pretty good for me. I'm going to Last Resort him, or excuse me, Foul Play him, and almost get to another one. Those Shadow Claws are resisted, but we just didn't have enough left. So Lanoon goes here for the Grass Knot. Alolan Ninetales can survive it. Now that he's out of energy, I bail into Donphan, and then I go for the Heavy Slam here to try to wrap this game up. We almost get there. It's going to take 3 more counters, but we pull out the win. Going into our matches against Purple Kyogre, I will lead my Minun into his Delcatty. Delcatty's a very interesting normal type. It does learn Charm, it does have access to Wild Charge and Disarming Voice. I think that's the most common moveset that I've seen on it so far. I'm going to get to 2 discharges though, and Minun is so spammy and so bulky for what it is. He is going to shield that second discharge, letting me know that he really wants to get off this charge attack, so I should probably shield. It was a Disarming Voice, and we go for a simultaneous swap into our Alolan Ninetales. This is a mirror match, and neither of us are backing down. I actually am able to barely eke out the win there with my Ninetales, and then here comes the Psyshock for me on the Vaporeon. So he will not shield that, instead allowing it through. I do have a Minun here, and I have my Alolan Sandslash as well. Minun is very weak, so I am going to bring in the Sandslash and fire off the Ice Punch here. So again, Alolan Sandslash is so fast. I did a feature video on it a couple days ago. It's really an amazing Pokemon. I definitely want it on my team in future cups. I think there was a player at the Richmond tournament that used it, and I wish I could see the footage. Maybe one day soon we will, but it seemed like that was a really big part of his team. We make a simultaneous swap again into Minun versus Delcatty, and I fire off this discharge to bring down Delcatty. Shields are down, and Minun is almost able to get to another move, but we use the Powder Snow to win. Going to the final match of the video battlers, we lead that Alolan Sandslash into that Umbreon. We're going to go here for straight Ice Punches against it. I'm running Powder Snow, Ice Punch, and Gyro Ball at this point. We're going to spam these Ice Punches. Umbreon is going to charge up a ton of energy though, and I know a double Foul Play is probably coming. Alolan Sandslash can probably take one of those. I go for the swap there, we don't quite make it. He's going to fire off one, and then I go for the swap, and we actually are able to catch that with our Alolan Ninetales. So the Foul Play isn't very effective against Alolan Ninetales. It will resist it, but in comes his Alolan Ninetales, so I am going to try to burn his shield here. I'm at a health disadvantage, so I can't win the mirror match with the pure charms, but at least I can earn his shield from the matchup. So that Alolan Ninetales is weak, but it does have a ton of energy. This is why I love Alolan Sandslash as well, because I know I can tank whatever attack this is. It is Psyshock, and look at that, guys, not even a big deal. I do farm up the rest of that Alolan Ninetales as well, which is really good for us. In comes Bibarel, and my Lanoon in the back is my last hope. I do have 2 shields for it though, so it should pull out this game for me. He does bring down our Alolan Sandslash with Water Guns. In comes Lanoon, and I think if I can pull out a double Grass Knot, I can beat this Bibarel. I do take this Surf because the Shadow Claws are resisted. Out comes the Umbreon, and the Snarls are resisted as well. I do think normal types still have a role to play in Ferocious Cup. I know that Lanoon is probably the premier one, but I've seen a lot of people talking about Lickitung as well. I might do a feature video on that soon. I try to Shadow Claw down this Umbreon, but we don't quite get there. I have to burn my last shield. But guys, I think we've charged up enough for 2 Grass Knots, so I fire off 1 against Bibarel here. It does get shielded as expected, and then here we go with the second Grass Knot, guys. We pull out this victory in a razor-thin competition. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you'd like to see more, ding that Bronzong bell to get notified when a new video goes up. I really appreciate you for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.